Brief History of Qing Dynasty. Narachi began his rise by gathering wild ginseng to sell at Ming trade markets. He swore revenge after the Ming Allied massacre of his father and grandfather in 1583. He studied Chinese history and military strategy through classic novels like Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Through conquest and diplomacy, he unified the fragmented Jurchen tribes into a singular power. In 1601, he reorganized his forces into the revolutionary eight-banner system. The banners functioned as both military divisions and the basic social framework for all Manchu households. In 1616, he proclaimed the later Jin dynasty, renouncing Ming overlordship. He issued the Seven Grievances, a formal declaration of war against Ming interference. Backed by Han defectors and Ming firearms, Narachi captured the critical post at Fushan in 1618. He moved his capital to Mukden in 1625, solidifying control over the Liaodong Peninsula. At the Battle of Ningyuan, Ming's Portuguese cannons dealt Narachi a mortal wound. His son, Hong Taiji, took the throne and officially renamed his people Manchu in 1635. In 1636, Hong Taiji declared the Great Qing Dynasty, styling himself a Chinese-style emperor. Inside China, the Ming dynasty collapsed due to fiscal decay and massive peasant revolts. Rebel Li Zicheng founded the Shun dynasty and captured major cities like Taiyuan. In April 1644, Li Zicheng's rebel army finally breached the walls of Beijing. The last Ming ruler, the Chongzhen Emperor, committed suicide as the capital fell. Ming General Wu Sangui stood at Shanhai Pass, caught between the rebels and the Manchus. Wu Sangui chose to align with the Manchus, opening the gates of the Great Wall to the Qing. At the Battle of Shanhai Pass, combined Qing-Wu forces routed Li Zicheng's rebel army. The child Shunji Emperor was enthroned in the Forbidden City as the new Son of Heaven. Prince Regent Dorgan ordered a proper burial for the Ming Emperor to claim the mandate of heaven. To stabilize rule, Dorgan retained the Ming bureaucracy and its Han Chinese officials. By 1683, the Qing finally crushed the last Ming loyalists, completing the conquest of China. In 1645, Dorgan issued the Q order, keep your hair and lose your head. All Han Chinese men were forced to adopt the Manchu Q as a sign of submission. In Yangzhou, Ming loyalists under Shi Kefa refused to surrender to the Qing invaders. Qing cannons, wielded by Han Chinese bannermen, successfully breached the walls of Yangzhou. A brutal 10-day massacre followed in Yangzhou to terrorize other cities into surrendering. Resistance exploded in Jiangnan as scholars viewed the Q as a humiliating degradation. The city of Jiangyan held out for 83 days before being depopulated by Qing forces. Dorgan enforced a policy of ethnic separation to preserve the distinct Manchu identity. Manchu women were strictly forbidden from practicing the Han custom of foot binding. The Shunji Emperor died of smallpox at 24 and was succeeded by his son Xuanye. The young Kangxi Emperor outwitted the regent Oboi to take personal control of the empire. The revolt of the three feudatories was crushed, ending the power of autonomous Han generals. Kangxi presented himself as a true Confucian monarch to win over the skeptical Han elite. He initiated the High Qing era, a period of unprecedented stability and prosperity. Kangxi recruited Southern scholars to help run a sophisticated, cosmopolitan bureaucracy. He commissioned the Kangxi Dictionary, which standardized over 47,000 Chinese characters. The emperor led military campaigns against the Dzungar Mongol nomadic tribes in the west. In 1689, the Treaty of Nerchinsk fixed the border between the Qing and Russian empires. Kangxi embarked on 6 southern inspection tours to connect with his subjects. He commissioned massive scrolls to document the grandeur of these imperial journeys. Roman Catholic missionaries were employed in the court as astronomers and artists. He issued the Sacred Edict, 16 points of moral guidance for the entire population. Despite his success, Kangxi faced a bitter succession struggle among his many sons. After 60 years, Kangxi died, and his fourth son, Yanjin, claimed the throne. The Yongjing Emperor took his era name to signal a rule of harmonious justice. He consolidated power by imprisoning rival brothers who questioned his succession. He created the Grand Council, a secret body for efficient military and civil planning. A hardworking autocrat, he personally reviewed up to 100 memorials every single day. To combat corruption, he expanded the secret report system across the empire. He established a localized tax system to fund regional infrastructure like roads. His grain campaign expanded farmable land to meet the needs of a growing population. Yongjing opened the imperial examinations to marginalized groups like the Hakka. He suppressed anti-Manchu writings, such as those of the scholar Lulu Liang. He forcibly integrated the 8 banners under direct imperial control to prevent coups. He intervened in Tibet, leaving a military garrison and a permanent imperial resident. Yongjing died suddenly in 1735, rumored to be poisoned by immortality elixirs. The Qianlong Emperor oversaw the Qing Empire at its maximum physical extent. He launched the 10 Great Campaigns, defeating the Vietnamese, Uyghurs, and Mongols. Xinjiang was integrated into the empire between 1755 and 1758. Qianlong styled himself a universal ruler to his diverse multi-ethnic subjects. He commissioned the Siku Chuanshu, the largest collection of literature in Chinese history. This project included a literary inquisition to destroy texts deemed anti-Manchu. Chinoiserie became a global trend as Chinese tea and porcelain flooded Europe. Under his rule, the population of China exploded, reaching nearly 450 million. Agriculture flourished with the introduction of New World crops like potatoes and corn. Despite the splendor, the court was wrought by the massive corruption of the favorite, He Shen. The quality of the 8 banners declined after decades of idleness and lack of training. Qianlong abdicated in 1796, out of respect for his grandfather's reign length. In 1757, the Qing restricted all Western maritime trade to the southern port of Canton. Foreigners were confined to the 13 factories on the banks of the Pearl River. Prohibited from inland contact, foreigners lived in what was called a golden ghetto. The Kohong, a guild of authorized Chinese merchants, managed all foreign trade. Wealthy Hong merchants like Haokua became some of the richest men in the world. Trade was primarily conducted in silver, as the Qing wanted little from the West. Insatiable European demand for Chinese tea created a massive trade deficit for Britain. In 1793, Lord Macartney arrived but refused to perform the traditional kowtow. Qianlong rejected British requests, claiming China possessed everything it could ever need. The British began shipping opium from India to China to balance the trade. Opium addiction spread rapidly across China, despite being strictly illegal. As silver drained from the empire, the Daoguang Emperor demanded an end to the trade. Commissioner Lin Zershu seized and destroyed 20,000 chests of opium in Canton in 1839. Britain responded with gunboat diplomacy, launching the First Opium War. Qing wooden junks were easily outclassed by British steam-powered warships. British troops using modern muskets easily outmaneuvered the outdated banner armies. In 1842, the Qing were forced to sign the Treaty of Nanjing, the first unequal treaty. China ceded Hong Kong to Britain and opened 5-inch treaty ports for free trade. This defeat marked the start of the century of humiliation for the Chinese people. The boarding of the ship Arrow in 1856 sparked the Second Opium War. Anglo-French forces marched on Beijing, causing the Xianfeng emperor to flee. The invaders looted and burned the old summer palace in a deliberate act of retribution. The Treaty of Tientsin legalized opium and allowed missionaries to travel inland. Permanent foreign embassies were established in Beijing, further undermining imperial authority. Hong Xiuquan, a failed exam candidate, had visions of being the younger brother of Jesus. He founded the God-worshipping society to destroy the ruling Manchu demons. In 1851, the Taiping Rebellion erupted in Guangxi, calling for total social revolution. Taiping armies captured Nanjing in 1853, renaming it Tianjin, the heavenly capital. They mandated radical changes, the abolition of private property and equal rights for women. Rebels were known as long hairs because they refused to wear the Manchu queue. The central government's banner forces proved ineffective against the massive rebel advance. Official Zheng Guofan raised the local Shang army to defend the dynasty. The Nian Rebellion simultaneously ravaged northern China, further straining the Qing. After 14 years of total war, Nanjing finally fell to imperial forces in 1864. The rebellion left an estimated 20 to 30 million people dead from war and famine. Victory came at the cost of decentralizing military power to regional Han Chinese leaders. Following the emperor's death, Empress Dowager Cixi staged a coup to become regent. She ruled from behind a curtain, guiding the empire for nearly 5 decades. The self-strengthening movement began, aiming to adopt Western tech while keeping Chinese essence. Modern shipyards and arsenals were built in Shanghai and Fuzhou to modernize the military. The Beiyang fleet was created, becoming the largest navy in East Asia for a time. In 1894, the First Sino-Japanese War revealed the movement's failure, as the navy was destroyed. The Treaty of Shimonoseki forced the Qing to cede Taiwan and Liaodong to Japan. The young Guangxu Emperor launched the 100 Days Reform to save the state in 1898. Conservative officials and Cixi launched a counter-coup, ending the reforms and imprisoning the emperor. Foreign powers began a scramble for China, carving the country into spheres of influence. Widespread drought and flooding in North China lead to desperate social unrest. Anti-foreign sentiment boiled over as a new martial society, the Boxers, emerged in Shandong. The Society of Righteous and Harmonious Fists, known as Boxers, claimed their rituals made them bulletproof. Their slogan was, "Support the Qing government and destroy the foreigners." Boxers began violent attacks on railroads, churches, and Chinese Christian converts. In June 1900, Boxer fighters and imperial troops converged on the foreign legations in Beijing. Empress Dowager Cixi eventually issued a de facto declaration of war on all foreign powers. Diplomats and their families were besieged for 55 days in the Beijing legation quarter. The Eight-Nation Alliance, including Japan, Russia, and the U.S., invaded to lift the siege. Allied forces stormed the Dagu forts and captured the strategic port of Tianjin. On August 14, 1900, Allied troops entered Beijing and Cixi fled to Xi'an. Allied soldiers looted the Forbidden City and executed those suspected of being Boxers. The Boxer Protocol of 1901 imposed a massive 450 million tael indemnity on the Qing. The humiliating settlement shattered the dynasty's last shreds of legitimacy and control. In 1905, Cixi abolished the 2,000-year-old imperial examination system. Sun Yat-sen founded the Tongmenghui abroad, dedicated to overthrowing the Manchus. Cixi died in 1908, leaving the throne to the 3-year-old toddler, Puyi. The railway protection movement in Sichuan sparked protests against foreign-funded nationalization. On October 10, 1911, the Wuchang Uprising began, led by the Qing's own new army. Provinces across China quickly declared their independence from the Manchu court. Sun Yat-sen returned from the United States and was elected provisional president. The court turned to General Yuan Shikai, who commanded the powerful Beiyang army. Yuan Shikai decided to negotiate with the revolutionaries rather than attacking them. On February 12, 1912, Empress Dowager Longyu issued the official Edict of Abdication. The 2,000-year-old imperial system ended, and the Republic of China was born. Puyi remained as a symbolic figure, while China entered a chaotic era of warlordism.